It's a brand new day of learning. I am Tiersa Blanco, and I am glad and excited to be with you today to discover new lessons through this video presentation. So set your mind and ready your heart as we learn about the two philosophies of education, specifically the idealism and realism. Before we start, I want to make sure that you are in a comfortable place and have your notebook and your pen for noting important details. Alright, I think you're ready now, so we will start the lesson. The aim of this lesson, at the end of this lesson, you are able to grasp the background of the proponent of the two philosophies on education, specifically idealism and realism. Identify the educational implications, thoughts to the curriculum, pedagogy, assessment. So now, let's take a look at what is idealism. When we say idealism, it is one of the most widely accepted philosophies in the world. The idea of idealism is that education should be driven by what is best for the individual. Some philosophers hold that if we push our investigation of matter far enough, we end up with only a mental world. Such philosophers are called idealists. So idealism believes that reality is essentially idea and mind rather than matter. So idealism emphasizes the mental and spiritual, not the material. So now, what is idealism and education? Idealism and education philosophy is a branch of philosophy that aims to identify and develop each individual's abilities and full moral excellence in order to serve society better. To know more about idealism, let's take a look at the leading proponents. The first one is Plato. In 428-347 BCE, he is a Greek philosopher and considered father of idealism, the Platonic idealism. He did not think that man created knowledge. Rather, man discovered knowledge. He also emphasized the importance and use of dialectic or the critical discussions and the two worlds, which is the world of ideas and the world of matter. According to Plato, people should concern themselves in searching for truth. The second leading proponent is Saint Augustine in 354 to 430. He is a Christian philosopher, and he believes that we must first believe in order that we may know. So his senses were unreliable, and that belief in God rests ultimately on faith. So according to him, God already created knowledge, and people can discover it through trying to find God. The third leading proponent is René Descartes in year 1596 to 1650. He is a French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist. He is the father of dualism, the Cartesian philosophy. He struggled with how mind and matter interacted. He also pointed the two worlds, extended substance in matter and thinking substance of idea. The fourth leading proponent is Immanuel Kant in year 1724 to 1804. According to him, there are universal moral laws. Man has a feeling of obligation to act in obedience to these moral laws. It is possible for an individual to act purely out of desire or intention to do good, to fulfill the moral law. According to him, the essence of education should not be simply training. The important thing was enlightenment, or teaching a child to think according to principles as opposed to mere random. The fifth leading proponent is George Hegel in year 1770 to 1831. According to him, to be truly educated, an individual must pass through the various stages of the cultural evolution of humankind. He also searched for final absolute spirit. So according to him, spirit is the final stage or synthesis of idea and nature. And he also has the approach reality as contest of opposites. The educational aims of idealism. The first one is to develop the mind, search for true ideas, character development, self-realization, preservation and transmission of culture, preparation for whole life. Idealism believes that the goal of human life is the exaltation of one's personality. Education has to achieve this aim. The school curriculum accordingly consists of the subjects with conducive to this goal. The curriculum must reflect the capitalized knowledge and experience of the race. So the curriculum in the idealism focuses on reading and writing, history, literature, philosophy, and religion. Curriculum in idealism also teaches students to think, believes that only the brightest students should be educated, and women were the majority of school teachers. In the idealistic system of education, the teacher is indispensable. The immature pupil not be expected to be able to understand by his own intelligence. So the role of the teacher serves as exemplary model, intellectually and morally excellent. The teacher assists students in choosing important material and forces students to think for himself through questioning. So when a pupil becomes a disciplinary problem, the idealist teacher tries to show him the effect of his misconduct on the rest of the class. The teacher risks the wrongdoer. What would happen if everyone behaved as he does? Is he setting a good example for his classmates to follow? That is according to George Kneller. So, the teacher is thus necessary for advising, directing, and even controlling the conduct of the pupil in order that he or she may be able to ensure the perfection of his or her personality. So the idealist teacher can guide and help his pupil in three ways. Firstly, he or she can influence them by personality, especially by associating with them personally. Secondly, he or she can suggest questions and problems to them and encourage them to think for themselves. Thirdly, he or she can enable them to understand their problems by following the scientific method of analysis and synthesis. The role of school in idealism. The school will provide educational and appropriate materials to sharpen intellectual processes, to present the wisdom of the ages, and to present models of behavior that are exemplary. For the methods of teaching in idealism, idealism has exercised more influence on the aims and objects of education than on methods of teaching. So it speaks on the general nature of teaching methods. So the great Greek idealist Plato, however, advocated and Socrates' method dialectics. So many educational philosophers advocated many other methods, the deductive method, the inductive method, the analyst method, and so on. So idealism is not much concerned with the choice of methods so long as its essential objective is fulfilled. So the teaching methods in reading is more on holy books and astronomy. When we say in oral methods, in teaching methods, it pertaining to the lecture, discussion, and dialogue. In traditional methods, idealism is more on Sravana, Manana, and Nidihai Sana. So now, let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the idealism. Let's take a look of the strength of the idealism. So the strength of idealism is the high cognitive level of education that idealists promote. their concern for safeguarding and promoting cultural learning, their great concern for morality and character development, their view of the teacher as a revered person central to the educational process, and the stress on the importance of self-realization. While the weaknesses of the idealism, industrialization and technological advances, the development in sciences, and renewed vigor of realism and naturalistic philosophies, and also the contemporary emphasis on newness as opposed to cultural heritage. Idealism leans toward intellectual elitism and extreme cognitive and bookish approach. So the relevance of idealism in education, it creates schools that are intellectual centers of teaching and learning, sees teacher as vital agent in guiding students to realize their fullest potential intellectual, and encourage teachers and the students to encounter and appreciate the finest and most enduring achievement of the culture, and recognizes internet that can make great book accessible to students. However, they insist that technology should be used as a means of education and not as an end. Since we are done in discovering the world of idealism, so now let's proceed to realism. So when we say realism, it is derived from the Greek word res, which means real, which further is related to object. So realism is an attempt to portray life as it is, and it is the world is real and material. So it considered as an educational philosophy which advocates that education should be concerned with the realities of life and should prepare a person of his or her duties in life. So to know more about realism, let's take a look of its proponent. The first one proponent is Aristotle in year 382 to 322 BC. So Aristotle, according to him, everything has a purpose or function. So golden mean there should be no lack or excess, and he also emphasizes the form or ideas can exist even without matter, but there can be no matter without form. The second proponent, Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas in year 384 to 322 BC. He says that God created matter out of nothing, and God is the unmoved mover who gives meaning and purpose to the universe. So the primary agencies of education are family, God, and state, respectively. Next is Sir Francis Bacon in 1561 to 1626. So he is the father of inductive method, and according to him that knowledge is power. Then another proponent of realism is John Locke in year 1632 to 1704. So according to him, or his major contribution was the development of an acute awareness of experience, and according to him, we are born tabula rasa or as a blank state. Next proponent is John R. Shirley. So according to him, the external world exists independent of human thought. So consciousness is as much an ordinary biological phenomenon as is digestion. Next is John Amos Comenius. So he felt that the human mind, like a mirror, reflected everything around it. And John Friedrich Herbart, he has the formal step of methodology. So the first one is prepare the student to receive new information. The second one, present the new knowledge. The third one, association of new knowledge. The fourth one, generalization. The fifth one is the application. For the contemporary realism, here are the proponents. Alfred North Whitehead in year 1861 to 1947. So he stated the important things to be learned are ideas, but the ideas need to be connected with experience. Then the next one is Bertrand in year 1872 to 1970. So he believed philosophy should be analytical and based on science. So the aims of realism is to prepare the child for a happy and successful life. preparing the child for a real life, developing the physical and mental powers of child, acquainting the child with nature and social environment, imparting vocational education, and developing and training of senses. So realism in the classroom focuses on the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. So classroom environment is highly structured and organized, and education should be fun and interesting for the students, so education should prepare students for life in the real world. So the teacher rules in realism. So the teacher, according to realist, is expected to have a full knowledge of the content and needs of the student. So the teacher should have knowledge of child psychology and should have undergone training. So the teacher prepares the students to receive new information and organizes and present content systematically within a discipline, demonstrating use of criteria in making decisions. So the teacher will also impart knowledge of this reality to students or display such reality for observation and study. So the teacher in realism inspires and encourages the students sympathetically. So in realism, the curriculum is more on problem-centered or the subject-centered curriculum. Practical and useful, physical activity has educational values, and attention to the complete person, extensive use of pictures, use of objects in education, and most effective way to find out reality is to study it through organized, separate, and systematically arranged matter. So, a curriculum in realism is the realist stresses a curriculum consisting of organized topics and subject matter. So, it locates the most general and abstract subject at the top of the curriculum hierarchy and gives particular transitory subjects a lower order of priority. So, the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, are also necessary in a person's basic education. So in teaching methods of realism, it emphasizes on the critical reasoning through observation, demonstration, precision in order, the ringing bells, time periods, daily lesson plans, prepackaged curriculum materials, and it supports accountability and performance-based teaching in recitation, experimentation, demonstration, and education should proceed from simple to complex and from concrete to abstract. And also, it includes the tutorial system, travel, observation and social contracts, and things before rules and world. The implications of realism and education. So realism has probably had the greatest impact on educational philosophy because it is the foundation of scientific reasoning. So realist educators encourage students to draw their observation and conclusions from the world around them rather than confining themselves to an analysis of their own ideas. I hope you learned a lot from this video presentation. So thank you for watching. Bye!